Beyond the Struggle. We're going to do a podcast today with my great friend Kevin James. We've been together for a long time. Sometimes it feels like how long has it been, Kevin?
Let's see, I came aboard in 2012. So we've been going on probably about 13 years now together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it seems like yesterday.
It does.
Really does. And it's amazing what we've done in that period of time. You know, I'm grateful to be with Woodlake all of these years, and we've seen a lot of struggles.
Absolutely.
And we've seen a lot of people get through those struggles with, just bumps and bruises, and some people have to come back. For me, I had to go to 9 treatment centers to get clean and sober.
Right.
I didn't get it the first time.
Right.
I went to great facilities. I was a bad student.
Yeah. Well,
you know anybody like that?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
I had to go to 2. It didn't stick the first time.
It's funny. I believe that 50% of this program is based on what's inside. We got to peel back that onion to find out what are our underlying issues.
Right.
I have everybody you look at has underlying issues. I don't think there's a person out there that doesn't have some sort of underlying issue.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And with that said, I think you have to deal with the underlying issues of depression, anxiety. And I believe that trauma is, how you deal with things. We all have had bumps and bruises, wrecks, car wrecks, or...
you can deal with it as being a victim, or you can deal with it as being the victor.
Victim or victor, no question
about it.
Just
as much energy to be either or.
Well, and I think the book that we read, we read the big book, but the big book also says the same thing.
Right.
Right. And I think you have to have a lot. The big book is the 12-step model, and I think 50% of our program is based on the underlying issues, and you have LPC, psychiatrists. We do medical detox. We are a full continuum of care.
Right. Whenever me and you both, we were talking about this earlier. Between me and you, there's 55 years of sobriety between you and I, which is a miracle.
Amen.
If people knew you and I before.
No doubt.
And I know what brought me into this. Was my own struggle. And I drank and drug from the time I was 11 till 39, so that I had a lot of practice under my belt.
Sure.
And it took me to places that I didn't want to be.
Sure. And were you a different person?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And it brought me with people I didn't want to be with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always had to stay longer than I wanted to stay.
Amen.
But, the last thing I ever dreamed when I was using was going to AA meetings and being in a 12-step program and just being sober. That was foreign to me. And, just like you and everybody else who's come through this, we just, you don't know what you don't know.
Amen.
And I know what brought you to starting Woodlake was your own recovery.
Yeah.
And, look, I wouldn't change nothing about what I went through to get to this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you look back at it, sometimes you say, why in the world? I tell this story all the time. It was a God thing for me.
Right.
And I had I was clean and sober for almost 9 years. And all of a sudden, I quit doing the things that got me to the dance.
Right.
I quit sponsoring people. I quit going to meetings.
Right.
I quit reading the big book. I quit doing those things.
Right.
And little by little, my sponsor called me. He was my pediatrician as a child. Mm-hmm. And he called me every day of my life for over 30 years. Now, he was kind of an abrupt guy, but he would call me up and he'd say at 5 o'clock in the morning, "Gomez, you get fucked up last night." First words out the box.
Right.
No, sir, I did not. Today, I want you to go and tell everybody you meet the color of their eyes. I mean, little things, nothing to do with AA, but I want you to let people know that you're committed to them.
Right.
Because you can't help, you can get anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And what
Correct.
so many people want, they want to get rid of that hurt and pain.
Right. Right. Well, when you were first starting in recovery, if somebody would have told you, Randy, you're going to have a treatment center, one of the best in the state, and look, me and you are both a little biased.
No
We
doubt.
think the best in the country. But if somebody would have told you that that's what you would be doing, what would you have said?
Oh, I mean, the first AA meeting I ever went to, the lady said, "I'm a grateful alcoholic." I turned to him and said, "Boy, I fucked up a shit."
Right, right,
You know,
right. Yeah.
and it's funny, but not funny. But
Right.
and today I still see her. Monday night I saw her in a meeting.
Yep. And look, I think anybody that ever comes into recovery, because I said the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, no
Yeah,
doubt.
and we get it today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when me and you first started talking, I was at another facility,
Right.
and we were trying to bring the 12-step model into Woodlake. And I think I've told you this. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, well, we can go talk to him. I said, but I don't think I'm going anywhere, because where I was at, I was sort of set.
Yeah.
And they let me do what I wanted, which was the 12 steps.
Well, I hate to break news. You do that now.
Yeah, well, yeah. But when we first started talking, I had no clue me and you'd be sitting here today after all of these years.
And not only from a work relationship. Look at the friendship we developed.
Right.
If I have a problem, I call you.
Right. And a lot of people that work at Woodlake, they don't see that side of you like I do.
Yeah.
And it's different with you and I. But when God works through people. You know that, and I know that. And one of the reasons that I did come to Woodlake was because of you and that opportunity, but my wife wanted to come home.
I understand.
And so
that's God's hand in it.
that's God's hand in it.
But look at today, there's been a bunch of treatment centers open.
Right.
But look at the people that we have worked with in the past. Dr. Tommy Estes.
Right. Great. One of to me the best, one of the best counselors, group therapy, psychotherapy that I've ever met.
Well, I think the biggest thing that Tommy does is he asks those exploratory questions.
Right.
The only problem I've always joked with Tommy about, he doesn't have an on or off switch. You're eating lunch with him and he's psychoanalyzing you. Right. How does that make you feel, Ray?
Yeah. I used to tell him, hey, don't psychoanalyze me.
Cut it off. But Tommy was great.
Great.
I think he was awesome, and I think that he came here. Tommy, his health wasn't good.
Right.
Tommy was driving 3.5 hours on a Monday,
correct,
and 3.5 hours back because he was dedicated. And that's really, I'm gonna be honest, that's when the Woodlake family, and how often do we say that?
Right. All the time.
The Woodlake family started, and I told Tommy, I said, Tommy, we're gonna train up here a bunch of great people in the industry. And sometimes I wish I wouldn't have said that, because we train up a bunch and they go to other places. If you go to a lot of places, and I think the greatest compliment to you guys is they emulate our program.
Right.
And that's the greatest form of flattery.
Yeah. Besides Tommy, Dr. Cataldi.
Awesome.
He played a big part.
Very big part.
In Woodlake getting to that point. When I got there, it was Tommy and Dr. Cataldi and Ryan Phillips.
Another one. Talk to him Monday.
Yeah. And so, I walked in like, well, how are they going to treat me, because, your reputation precedes you sometimes,
Sure.
Oh, sure. And I think I had a wrong perception of them, and I can say it was vice versa.
Right.
And we gelled very well together in those early days.
Well, and I think if you ask any of them, Tommy Estes will tell you, well, Tommy refers a bunch of patients to us.
Right.
So I think that's our endorsement. But one of the things that, Tommy, would always say about sometimes in your lectures,
Right.
you'll say, he's the greatest educator I've ever been around. Kevin is. And I'm not saying that, I tell that to everybody.
Right.
But, sometimes when you say, Kevin, do you love your mama?
Right. Right.
He would say, hey, let's back. But they don't see sometimes that you say, hey, I wish I could tell my mom
Right.
I love her.
Right.
They don't see the love and care that you give these.
Well, me and you've talked about this a couple of times about you got to get them down to a place where you can be effective, but you got to build them back up.
Oh yeah.
And when I was coming through this and in early recovery, I got tore down. I mean, but what they didn't do was try to build me back up, and that never ever left me. And I always said, boy, if I ever get that opportunity, I'm going to tear them a new you-know-what, but I'm not going to leave them there.
Right.
Always going to build them back up. And anybody who's ever come up to me over the years who went through Woodlake, that's some of the things they say. Boy, you tore me a new asshole, but you didn't leave me there.
Right. Well, it was so easy when when you first came here that many years ago. We got 90 days.
Right.
We'd call them up and say, we have a person here with this, this, and this.
Right.
You got 90 days. Today, you're fighting your rear end off to get 15 days.
Yeah.
You're starting to do insurance utilization costs. So it's not just what you do in the groups or individual care.
Right.
It's what you do to support that, to keep getting days.
But I think you would agree one of the things that makes Woodlake is we are 50% of the psychotherapy, the group, the one-on-one, the working with, and the other 50% is the 12 steps. And I tell people this all the time, that I'm very fortunate to work at a place where the owner is one of us.
Right.
And me and you had the conversation at Sammy's restaurant that I would never come unless you let me do the 12 steps.
Sure.
And I think I've grown. I've opened up a little bit about the psychotherapy and some of the other forms of treatment, whereas, because me and you joke about this a lot. I was just 12 step. That's it. I don't want to hear nothing else. I don't believe in nothing else. And I think I've evolved. I think Woodlake has evolved.
No doubt. Well, with our addictionologists that we have, I think a lot of them, at first they were kind of the spirituality. And I don't think they understand.
Right.
Right.
We both know what that pop means. Right. Right.
And I think anybody that has been to Woodlake
Right.
knows what that pop means.
Correct.
And it's basically
head coming out your rear end. Instead of seeing the darkness of self, you start to see the sunlight of the spirit, and you start to get that little spiritual awakening, that little seeing things a little bit different than that self-centered person, But, the 12 steps for myself, I've evolved with those. And, a lot of people think the steps are designed to get and keep me sober, which we both know they're not. Because when I come to Woodlake or I come to an AA meeting, most of the times, 99% I'm sober.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. They're to give a person a personality change, a spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, change. And you say this a lot. What's the one thing that's always going to happen?
Always constant.
Change.
Everybody is addicted to something. And I went to a lot of treatment centers. And I went to some of the best ones in the country. And when I left, you know what they told me? Good luck, I hope you make it. We do it a little different than that. We believe in a process. It's a process to get into recovery.
Woodlake is a full continuum of care, drug and alcohol rehab facilities. We do detox, residential, PHP, IOP, sober living, and outpatient services. And those services are provided all throughout South Louisiana.
I was just in a cycle of just going to treatment, getting out, not making it, going back to treatment. You know, there was always like this one fear about coming to Woodlake that I might actually get sober. You know, and I did end up coming to Woodlake this last time, and I got sober. They gave me everything that I needed.
You know, if you're from the curbside to the country club, we have a program for you. If you're dealing with anxiety, depression, substance abuse, we have a program for you.
I don't use anything conventionally, right? If I have a knife, it becomes a screwdriver, it becomes a hammer. It may not be the most effective thing, but I'm gonna use it. Sometimes I'm gonna need a hammer though. Sometimes I'm gonna need to actually get a screwdriver. And now I've got to distinguish what are those moments where I gotta do that. And it's kind of the same thing we do at Woodlake, whereas they've been using a knife as a screwdriver and it's not working anymore. How do I get a screwdriver in their hand?
I hit my bottom, man. I really did. I was married, I was going through a divorce, and you know, I figured I was okay. You know, I'd be okay. And I started using harder drugs. You know, so I went from smoking weed to drinking to doing heroin and meth. My first time coming through treatment, I walked in those doors at Woodlake July 20th, 2018. And that program that Woodlake offers changed my life.
I knew the day I walked in here that I wanted to live a normal life as best as I could, you know, and get away from old life just as much as I wanted today, you know. I got a solution today, and it's not drugs and alcohol anymore. It's, you know, it's the book of AA, the 12 steps, and my higher power.
There's a saying that someone very close to me told me. It's when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that couldn't be more true. Like, as soon as I got to Woodlake, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
You know, now that I've gotten sober and everything, I kind of, you know, like I want to see my, you know, I want to see my siblings healed as well and, you know, experience a beautiful life. So I just kind of push everybody to be their greatest, you know? So it's working.
And I think the story of redemption just kind of keeps coming through with people in Woodlake. You know, the story of whatever your faith is, you know, that story of just redemption is that, you know, lives can be healed, people can be changed, lives can be turned around, families can be put back together. And at Woodlake, we play a part in that every single day. And that is just huge. That's really special.
We want to do love first. And if we do love first, we say that no matter what you do, I can't love you anymore, I can't love you any less.
Like being involved in the Patriot program, I mean, it improved my relationship with my entire family. I went from not seeing either one of my daughters for like 3 or 4 months straight to, I mean, I see them every morning before they go to school. I see them every night. I mean, I bring my other daughter to dance. I can't coach her in dance, but I can bring her there. And just being able to be there for, you know, dinner, be there for breakfast, you know, it's a big deal. It makes a difference.
The passion or the flame of Woodlake is to serve persons from all walks of life. Persons of color, socioeconomic status, it doesn't matter. And you've been living on the streets, or whether you are an executive, we can help you.
When I couldn't love myself, they helped love me, which helped me find that self-esteem and that courage to want to change and do something different. So I feel like that's what I owe the clients that come to Woodlake, is to love them when they can't love themselves, and to help them in any way possible get to the point where they want recovery, or get to the point where they're willing to do some things different to stay sober.
I can't tell you how many times just eating out at a restaurant or something like that, how many times we have people come up and say, Woodlake saved my life. Yeah, it's big. And Randy says, no, you know, God saved your life. And you saved your life because you did what you needed to do. You know, Woodlake was just an instrument.
Kevin, we always talk at Woodlake about Woodlake family,
Absolutely.
and we've had a lot of change there. And like you said, the only constant things you have is change. But our fundamentals have stayed the same.
Agreed.
Yeah. We have meetings every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings a week. Sometimes we meet too much, but we want to make sure that we're doing it the best that we can possibly do it.
Right.
But we talk about Woodlake family. I know everybody by first name. I know children's names.
Right.
We say this: if you have, Kevin has a 5-year-old. If Lily has something she needs to do, what do I say? Family first.
Take care.
Family first. Take care of it.
I think a lot of people who have come to work for Woodlake and have left Woodlake, I've heard it several times. One thing that they can always say about Woodlake is family first. We have a young lady who's one of our educators, and she's told me, when y'all first told me that, I just took it as words, and she says, but y'all actually back it up. And, when we have our Christmas party, when we have things like that, how many kids do we have at the Christmas party? Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And, it's you guys have, let's everybody put up something and we're going to give toys to, and
Right.
every year it's abundance and more each year.
Right.
Right. What do you think makes Woodlake unique? What do you think makes Woodlake, we go the extra mile.
Right.
On everything that you do. What makes it, what is our unique position? Why
Well,
we do it?
I think being on look, I told you this going in, I got to be in the trenches. I got to be doing education. I don't want to be an administrator. And I think what sort of sets us apart, we have a good mix of people on our staff. We have a lot of clinicians. We have people in recovery, and I think it gives a client, patient coming in both sides of it. And I think the majority of our people are passionate about what they do. And I think water flows downhill. I think it starts at the top, and I think it sort of flows through the Woodlake family. I'll say it again, and I'll say this till my last breath, that I think we have a very good mix, a good balance about recovery, 12-step, and the psycho analysis part, the group part, the clinical part. And I think we have great people. And I've heard some of your sayings. When I first hear them, I go, "Oh, come on, man!" But we're like a chain, and the weakest part,
Yeah, synergies and bargain.
And
where's weakest our weakest link.
Yeah, and I think we have some good people.
You're talking about good people. My family of origin, I have a brother that's an alcoholic.
Right.
I got a sister that died
Right.
of the disease.
Right.
I have 2 other sisters that one still is a binger.
Right.
And one's in recovery.
Correct.
Sort of, kind of.
Right. Well, progress, not perfection.
Amen. Amen. But I also I'm talking about gratitude. I have 6 children. Getting ready to have 14. I got 14 grandchildren. Getting ready to have 15 grandchildren.
Right. Right.
But I have a lot of children working with me every single day.
We do.
And you have to have that fine line. I'm not saying I'm probably harder on them than I am on anybody.
I've said the same thing, and I think they know why.
Yeah, because I know the ability they have.
Right.
I know I'm harder on you, Kevin, because
Right.
I know the ability you have.
Right.
Right. And those are the great things. But we never have had a shouting, screaming matches. We've had disagreements.
Just not behind closed doors. We do not in front of people.
I don't think we've ever had really.
I want to get back to your family. We have 2 that work for us now, and we had 3, but behind the scenes, I think they all work for Woodlake.
Yeah, well, I mean, y'all don't count Joy. Joy does billing. There's so many things.
That's
there's
right.
So many instruments that you have in this.
We had 4. We have 3 now. That's yeah. But I try to give them as much recognition as I can without making their head sort of go up a little bit. But you know as well as I do, there's no way you could have did this without Terry, without them, because they put up with a lot when you were using.
Yeah.
And they still put up with
no, Kevin, they never saw that.
But some of the after effects.
My behavior.
Yeah.
I didn't lose that right away.
Right. So
it still bites me in the ass sometimes.
Right. So they played an integral part in it.
Oh, no question.
And I'm not saying that because look, I have to keep them happy because once you're out the picture, I got to deal with.
That's what I was kind of getting ready to say. You old bastard, you ain't gonna be here much longer.
I got to deal with them then. So
I got you.
But some of the things that you had to go through starting this. Elaborate on some of that,
it's funny that I had a bank that was in Nevada, and we got a microtel hotel that we had to repossess when I owned that bank. And so I started a sober living house. And so I saw the way and we opened a treatment center out there, and I saw the way we should do one, and I was fortunate to be able to sell the one out there and come here and buy a facility here. We bought, 200 acres out there. It's probably the prettiest land in Louisiana. It's gorgeous out there.
Beautiful.
And you do a great job keeping that up. And
beautiful.
And we have the same guy that helped me cut grass and helped me cut trees down to get that thing up and running.
I think anybody that's ever been through Ethel knows Mr. Earl.
No doubt. Yeah. And he's a great guy.
He is.
Great guy. He's been there the whole time. And with that said, a lot of people have been there a long, long time.
Look at Shanika. Look at Miss Marion. A lot of people,
Yeah. And I knew her from another business when I owned some LTAC hospitals.
Wendy's been with us a long time. Ryan's been with us a long time. We just can't seem to get rid of him.
No doubt. So your question was? I'm sorry.
Well, some of the struggles you went through getting Woodlake up and running, and some that we still deal with on a day-to-day basis. Because look, helping people and seeing recovery is a good thing, but a lot of people don't see what goes on behind the scenes at something like payroll and stuff like that.
Sure. I mean, your payroll, having doctors, a psychiatrist, nurse practitioners, nurses. We're a full continuum of care, so you have to have that. But I'm a firm believer, and I hate to use me, but that's the only thing I'm an authority on, because I don't have to be able to do the things y'all do. But when I was clean and sober from 1984 to 1993, doing all the right things, and then I went back out.
Right.
But when I went back out, I almost killed myself and somebody else. And I'm grateful to say that the 2 people I hit in a car that came through the back window of a F-350 truck, they worked with me for a long, long time and just retired. Yeah. And I got to be with them, know their family like I know your family.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Those things you go through, but you learn through.
Right.
And the stuff that we went through, you're never, if you're not growing, you're shrinking.
Correct.
And we have grown rapidly.
So speaking of that, when you first started Woodlake, how many employees did and we were actually all out in Ethel.
Out in Ethel.
Yeah, we had Wendy, we had human resources, payroll, every utilization, everything was at Ethel.
Yeah.
And how many employees did we probably have at that time?
A dozen.
Yeah.
Maybe Cataldi.
Yeah. At the most we may have had 20.
Yeah.
And today
400.
we have 400. So that's growth. That's a lot of growth.
Sure.
But it's been growth, I think, in a positive way. And tonight, how many beds could we fill? How many beds do we have?
Well, if you take everything and consider
Everything.
yeah, it's going to be over 700 beds if you take everything. If you take, because I think you have to have
Sober living, everything.
I think you have to take people from medical detox
Right.
and have a full continuum of care all the way through IOP, OP, and sober living, and teach people how to live life on life's terms again.
Right. And when we first started, how many beds did we have?
24.
So
And proud of them.
That's very proud of them, and that's a lot of growth. And to have that growth, you have to have good people
Right.
in the organization. So, talking about some of the things, some of the challenges we face today. We talk about some of that, sometimes, being, when me and you first started, there wasn't any Medicaid.
Right.
And sometimes a lot of people who came in, they really wanted to be there.
Right.
And today it's a little different. So you had to we have to change some of the ways we approach people.
Sure.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, you know better than me. It's a business.
Sure.
And business, to stay in business and help people, you got to stay afloat.
But you have to do things too. You say it's just a business, But how many times do I go to Ireland Lake at 2:00 in the morning, and pick up somebody, bring them out to Ethel,
Right.
and halfway there, I don't know if I really want to go,
Right.
And you have to get them in there, and that's why I went and got certified in doing interventions,
Right.
But the thing about it is that. You look at the downside. The great side of it is when you're sitting at a restaurant and somebody walks up to you and says, "Hey, you picked me up at."
Absolutely.
Those things are just, you changed not only me but my entire family.
Right.
But I see it change my family.
Right.
I'm grateful to say my children never saw me loaded.
Speaking of family, I think one of the things that we do at Woodlake is involve family in the recovery. With family days and one-on-ones and involving them in just about every part of it.
Sure.
I think that's important.
I think it's a must.
Yeah.
Although us alcoholics and drug addicts, we think that they needed more help than we did.
Well, yeah. One of the things we joke about, some of us old ones at Woodlake, is, boy, you remember when we were all in Ethel and Randy would be there almost every other day, and we all went, yeah, we remember that, and we like jumped for joy when we opened the Life Center up, and some of the like Wendy moved there from Human Resources, and we said, yeah, and Randy moved there too.
No doubt.
Yeah, me and Ryan, we joke about that all the time.
Well, I would pick up somebody at the lake, and I'd stop on the run.
Right.
And pick up two people at the gas pumps.
Right.
We'll get it figured out.
In those early days, we had to say, and you remember, I'll catch the bear.
I'm the bear hunter,
and
you're the skinner. Yeah, that's it.
And
y'all did a great job of that.
We did.
Y'all did a great job of that.
Yeah.
Well, this is our first podcast, and I think that Kevin, first of all, thank you a lot for coming. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you do for so many people.
Well, thank you.
I really mean that from the bottom of my heart.
It gets paid back. It gets paid back.
Good. Thank y'all for listening to us. I hope we added something to your life. If you ever need anything, we're always as far away as a phone call. My cell number is 225-933-9000. Call me anytime. Kevin?
Mine's 318-305-2257.
And the reason, I'm going to tell you this, I still think my daughter would argue with me, but I still think I'm the best marketer
I have no doubts about that.
You have no doubts that I think that.
No, well, she better stay on her toes.
And she is great at what she does, and I'm fortunate to have her, Lydia, Joy. You know, it's wonderful to be around family, and I consider you family.
I agree.
And thank you so much for doing this. Thank y'all so much for listening to us. Till the next podcast.
Yeah, we love y'all.